I stood in my new apartment, keys digging into my palm, a grin I couldn't shake spreading across my face. I, Aaron Gray, had done it, bought my own place in the heart of New Orleans' French Quarter. Years of pinching pennies from my teaching job, skipping nights out, and budgeting every dime had led to this. The apartment wasn't fancy, but it was mine, earned through sweat and sacrifice, unlike my younger sister, who drifted from boyfriend to boyfriend, always chasing handouts. I was the steady one. Our parents called her free-spirited. I saw someone who never faced consequences. Mom and Dad's favoritism stung, but I pushed it aside, tracing my hand along the counter, my space, my rules. I decided to celebrate with a small housewarming, just close friends from my teaching days and work. I sent invites to Mom and my sister, though I knew they'd likely skip it. Friends arrived with wine, a fern, a cheese board, their laughter filling the rooms. Someone raised a glass to my hard-won victory, and pride swelled in my chest, mixed with a quiet ache. Family always chose each other over me. That night, as cheers echoed, I didn't know chaos was coming drama that would peak with my dad's hand against my cheek on my birthday, and a shocking call from Mom a month later, her voice trembling with regret. I'd learned the cost of their choices the hard way. If family dramas hit you hard, smash that like button and subscribe for stories that cut deep. 3 weeks after the housewarming. My doorbell rang on a quiet Friday afternoon. I wasn't expecting anyone. Still in my casual clothes, tidying up after a long week of grading papers, when I opened the door, my heart dropped. There stood my mom and my younger sister, both with expressions I recognized all too well. Mom pushed inside without a word, her handbag swinging as she scanned the living room. My sister followed, adjusting her sunglasses even indoors, like she was avoiding eye contact. I closed the door slowly. Mom was already poking around my kitchen, opening cabinets as if inspecting for flaws. "Aaron, you haven't prepared anything to eat. It's past 5 already." Her tone made me feel small, just like old times. I explained I hadn't known they were coming, suggesting they could have called. She dismissed it with a wave, a gesture that always dismissed my boundaries. Meanwhile, my sister Jamie sat at the table, finally removing her glasses. She gave me that familiar look, the one signaling she needed something. The conversation turned quickly. Jamie announced her breakup with Joshua Hale. He expected me to cover rent after all those months together. Ridiculous. She sighed dramatically, letting the silence hang. Then came the request she wanted to stay here temporarily, just until she got on her feet. The city vibe in the French Quarter was perfect for job hunting and networking, she claimed. I hesitated, mentioning my need for space in this new home. But Mom jumped in, her voice sharp. "Don't be so self-centered. Your sister has nowhere else, no savings, and you're here all alone in this nice spot." They tag-teamed me. Jamie teared up, dabbing her eyes, promising to job search immediately. Mom brought up family loyalty, reminding me of how we'd stuck together after tough times growing up. The memory hit hard. Dad's lessons about supporting each other. Even though he often favored Jamie, I felt the resistance crumbling under their pressure. Fine, I agreed, but only for a short while. Jamie's face brightened instantly, her tears vanishing as she hugged me stiffly. I didn't return the embrace fully that evening. As Jamie unpacked her bags into the guest room, I set ground rules over a simple dinner I prepared. No loud disturbances, especially since I rose early for school. Share the household tasks evenly, cleaning, cooking, whatever needed doing. And, crucially, turn off lights and appliances to keep bills down. I recalled the high utility costs from our family home. Most important. No visitors without checking with me first. This was my apartment, and I needed control over who entered. Jamie nodded along, chewing her food. "I get it. Aaron, I'm not a kid anymore. I'll prove I can handle this responsibly." Her words sounded genuine, more sincere than I'd heard in years. For a brief moment, hope flickered in me she might actually change, turn things around. Yet underneath, a vague worry lingered. I'd seen this pattern before, her promises fading into excuses. As I cleared the table alone that night, watching her scroll on her phone, I wondered if I'd made a mistake letting them in so easily. The apartment already felt a bit less like mine. The first week surprised me pleasantly. Jamie woke early some mornings, brewing coffee and preparing simple breakfasts like eggs and toast. She'd chat about job applications she'd sent out, mentioning a few interviews lined up at local cafes or retail spots in the quarter. The apartment stayed neat, counters wiped down, floors swept without me asking. Coming home from teaching to a warm meal felt almost refreshing. A glimpse of the sister I remembered from childhood before the drifting started. She'd even ask about my day, sharing laughs over student stories. It made me think perhaps this arrangement could work after all. But by the third week, cracks appeared. I'd return to find dishes stacked in the sink, unrinsed and crusted. Jamie stopped cooking altogether, claiming exhaustion from her supposed job hunts instead. She'd lounge on the couch, absorbed in her phone, the living room scattered with her wrappers and cups. One evening, after a draining parent-teacher conference, I walked into her in the same position I'd left her that morning. Takeout containers littering the coffee table. I bit back frustration and started dinner myself, but when the aroma drew her to the kitchen, I couldn't hold it in. We needed to address the chores we'd discussed. Nights grew worse. Jamie's phone calls echoed through the thin walls late into the evening, her laughter loud and punctuated by music from her device. Neighbors in our building, used to the quarter's ambient hum but not indoor disruptions, knocked once to complain about the volume. I overheard her dismissing it the next day, groaning about a headache from the previous outing. Her outings increased, coming back past midnight, sometimes stumbling. The scent of smoke and drinks clinging to her clothes. Sleep became elusive for me, the disturbances pulling me from rest before early classes. I confronted her about the utility bill first. It had jumped noticeably, higher than my careful projections. Long showers, running water for ages. The air conditioning cranked even on mild days. These added up. I showed her the statement over coffee one morning, pointing out the spikes. Jamie shrugged it off. It's been humid lately, Aaron, and job searching is stressful. I need to unwind. Her excuses rang hollow, avoiding any offer to contribute or adjust. Tension built as I tuned out her justifications, focusing on my own routines to maintain some normalcy. The real blow came mid-month, while organizing my desk drawer for lesson plans. I noticed cash missing a few $100s I'd stashed for emergencies. Panic surged. Then suspicion, as I recalled Jamie's recent new clothes and accessories. I waited until she emerged from her room at noon, still in pajamas, when I asked directly. Her face paled before denial kicked in. I wouldn't do that, she insisted, but her eyes darted away, pressing further. She broke, admitting she'd borrowed it for interview outfits, promising repayment soon. Anger boiled in me, the betrayal sharp, eroding any remaining trust. This wasn't just messiness, it crossed a line. As she retreated to her room, I stood frozen, the apartment feeling tainted by her actions. One night, about a month in, keys jangling and muffled giggles yanked me from deep sleep. I glanced at the clock, 4:15 a.m. Another late return for Jamie, but this time multiple voices filtered through the hallway. I threw on a robe and stepped out, rubbing my eyes. What I saw halted me cold. Jamie leaned unsteadily against the wall, her makeup smudged, arm-linked with a stranger. He was tall, clad in a jacket that seemed out of season for the warm Louisiana air, his expression smug as he nuzzled her neck. Jamie spotted me and grinned widely. Hey, sis, this is Tyler Brooks. Isn't he great? His place fell through, so he's crashing here with me. Tyler barely acknowledged me, his hands roaming freely over her in the open, right there in my home. Disgust rose in my throat. I demanded to know why she hadn't asked first. Jamie waved it off casually. It's no big deal. You said no guests without notice, but this is different. He's with me. I snapped, my voice steady despite the anger surging. This violated everything. Tyler finally spoke, his tone arrogant. Your sister said it'd be fine. Relax. Then they resumed their display, as if I weren't standing feet away. Heat flushed my face, the audacity, the disregard. Enough. I ordered Tyler out immediately. Jamie's eyes narrowed. You're being ridiculous. He's staying. The argument escalated. Jamie hurled words like unkind barbs. calling me jealous and controlling. I marched to her room, pulling out her suitcases from under the bed. "Pack now, or leave empty-handed." She stormed after me, shoving clothes in haphazardly while muttering. Tyler lingered in the doorway, silent but smirking. Minutes stretched as she zipped the cases roughly, her knuckles pale. Finally, she dragged them toward the exit, pausing to spit one last accusation. "You're the worst sister ever." The door slammed behind them, vibrations rattling the frames on my walls. Silence descended, heavy and abrupt. My hands trembled as I locked up. Adrenaline fading into exhaustion, I sank onto the couch, the events replaying in my mind the intrusion, the betrayal layered on top of everything else, needing support. I dialed my cousin Eric. He answered groggily, but listened as I poured out the details. "You did the right thing," he assured me, his voice calm. "Boundaries matter, especially in your own space." Talking to him eased the knot in my chest slightly, reminding me I had people who understood. As the first light crept through the windows, I realized the weight lifting. No more excuses, no more chaos. The apartment felt reclaimable now. 45 minutes later. My phone rang. Dad's name flashing on the screen. I answered hesitantly, but his voice exploded through the speaker. "How could you throw your sister out in the dead of night? She could have been in danger." He shrieked, his anger palpable even through the line. I stayed silent at first, but he pressed on, calling me selfish for not helping family, heartless for turning my back on Jamie. "After all we've done for you," he added, his tone laced with disappointment. I attempted to defend myself, mentioning the repeated issues, the lack of contribution, the theft, the uninvited guest, but he dismissed it as exaggeration. "You're overreacting. She's your sister." The conversation ended with him slamming the phone down, the click echoing in my ear. His words lingered, a mix of guilt and resentment stirring inside me, making me question if I had been too harsh. I powered off my device immediately, the silence a relief from the verbal assault. Over the next few days, I dove into deep cleaning to erase the traces of Jamie's stay. The kitchen harbored moldy dishes hidden in cabinets, their stench hitting me as I pulled them out. Stains dotted the floors and walls from careless spills, requiring hours of scrubbing with cleaners. The guest room was worse forgotten food wrappers under the bed, sticky spots on the nightstand, even a wine mark on the mattress. I hauled out multiple garbage bags, the physical labor matching the emotional purge. By the end, my arms ached, but the space began to feel like mine again. I reorganized drawers, wiped down appliances, and aired out the rooms to banish the lingering odors. The process was therapeutic, each cleaned corner restoring a bit of my peace. Next, I scheduled a locksmith. He showed up the following afternoon, efficient and professional. "Better safe," he said as he fitted the new lock, handing me the shiny keys. Their weight in my hand brought a rush of freedom, a symbol of reclaimed autonomy. No more unexpected entries, no more violations of my sanctuary. Yet mingled with that empowerment was a deep hurt from Dad's words. His bias toward Jamie had always been there. But this outburst highlighted how little he valued my side. It left me questioning our family dynamics, the uneven expectations placed on me. Why was I always the one to compromise? The thought looped in my mind as I tested the new lock. My birthday was coming up shortly, and I decided to mark it in my newly cleansed home. I kept it small, inviting only those who had my back. Texts went out to Lori, known for her kind gestures like bringing homemade treats. Mary, my go-to for moral support during tough weeks. Shannon and Tracy, reliable in tough times with their honest feedback. I added Eric, my cousin who had offered solid advice lately. His perspective always balanced, pointedly. I left out Mom, Dad, and Jamie. Their presence would only bring tension. This was my chance for a drama-free celebration. The omission felt final, a step toward healing. Though it tugged at me with a sense of loss, getting ready occupied my mind, picking out easy appetizers, curating a playlist of soothing tunes. As confirmations rolled in, a spark of excitement ignited. This event would validate my decisions, envelop me in genuine care. Nonetheless, the family's dismissal lingered like a shadow, stirring sorrow in quieter intervals. The contrast between their absence and my friend's enthusiasm underscored the pain, yet also the necessity of my boundaries. I spent time thinking about what the day would bring: laughter, perhaps some gifts, but most importantly, a sense of belonging without the weight of past grievances, arranging the seating and lighting. I allowed myself to look forward, the hurt fading slightly in the anticipation. The party got underway without a hitch. Lori came bearing her famous chocolate cake, its rich aroma wafting as she set it on the table. Mary handed me a bottle of red wine, selected from a nearby shop she loved. Tracy arrived with a sturdy houseplant, its leaves bright and promising growth. Shannon brought a cheese assortment, perfect for snacking. Eric showed up with a small gift bag, his smile warm as he joined the group. We gathered in the living room, conversations flowing easily, jokes about my teaching mishaps, updates on their lives, the sound of clinking glasses mingling with genuine laughter. It felt good. This circle of support, a stark contrast to the isolation I'd endured lately. The doorbell's aggressive buzz cut through the cheer. My stomach twisted. I knew that insistent ring. Opening the door revealed Dad. His face twisted in rage. He shoved past me into the apartment, not bothering with hellos, planting himself amid my guests. He raised his voice. "How can you all be here toasting her when she kicked her own sister to the curb like trash?" The room fell silent, friends shifting uncomfortably as he turned his glare on me. "We need to talk about what you've done. Aaron, your poor sister is devastated because of your cruelty." I kept my tone even, though my pulse raced. "Dad, this is my birthday. Now isn't the time Jamie abused my hospitality, ignored every boundary." But he wasn't listening. His volume climbed, accusing me of selfishness, of tearing the family apart. "After everything, you turn your back, you're heartless," guests murmured, some standing as if to intervene. The tension peaked when I stood firm, refusing to back down. In a surge of fury, Dad lunged forward and pushed me roughly, the force sending me stumbling backward into the wall. My cheek throbbed from the impact, a metaphorical burn of humiliation spreading through me. "Ungrateful child," he snarled, his eyes cold. Then he spun and marched out, the door crashing shut with finality that shook the pictures. Stunned quiet blanketed the space. I remained rooted, my hand rising to my face as hot tears escaped. The celebration shattered in under 10 minutes. Eric moved first, pulling me into a steady hug as sobs racked me. "It's okay, let it out," he whispered. Lori and Mary flanked us, their arms encircling in solidarity. Tracy fetched tissues, dabbing gently, while Shannon murmured reassurances. "He had no right," she said. Their kindness anchored me amid the wreckage, but the sting of Dad's actions lingered, a raw wound exposing years of uneven treatment as they helped gather the scattered plates and glasses. I drew strength from their presence, vowing to process this betrayal later, a month later. Eric called with updates. He had heard through family channels that Jamie and Tyler had relocated to Mom's house. What started as a temporary fix quickly spiraled. They hosted gatherings that stretched into the early hours, music blaring loud enough to prompt neighbor complaints. One incident escalated when police arrived after reports of a disturbance. The noise had rattled the quiet suburb. Mom tried intervening once, but Jamie shoved her aside in the heat of an argument, leaving her bruised and shaken. The chaos didn't stop there. Bills piled up from their unchecked use of utilities, and the home turned into a disarray of empty bottles and discarded items. Mom's number lit up my screen one afternoon. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. Her voice cracked on the line, softer than I'd ever heard. "Aaron, please don't hang up. I need to talk." She paused, breath shaky. "You were right about everything. Jamie and that man have overtaken the place. They don't lift a finger. Just create mess after mess." Tears choked her words as she described the parties disrupting the neighborhood, the shove that had left her reeling. "When I confronted them last week, she pushed me down. I don't know what to do anymore. Help me, please." I listened quietly. Memories of Dad's outburst and years of favoritism flooding back. Her admission came too late, laced with desperation. "Mom, you chose this path, always defending her, making excuses while I bore the brunt. she begged again, voice breaking further, but resolve hardened in me. You need to handle this yourself. Your favorite daughter is your responsibility now. I ended the call firmly, then blocked her number. No more intrusions, no more guilt trips. The decision brought a finality that settled over me like calm after a storm. Word filtered through Eric about the aftermath. Mom pursued an eviction lawsuit against Jamie and Tyler, the process dragging on with court dates and legal fees draining her savings. Neighbors' testimonies about the disturbances strengthened the case, but the stress wore her down sleepless nights. Mounting costs from lawyers and repairs, Jamie and Tyler faced potential homelessness if the ruling went against them, their lifestyle unsustainable without enablers. Meanwhile, my days returned to normalcy. Mornings with coffee, uninterrupted. Evenings grading papers in quiet. Bills stabilized without excess. The apartment breathed easy. Dishes stayed clean. Lights switched off properly. Sleep came fully each night. No echoes of arguments or late arrivals. Reflecting on it all taught me vital lessons. Setting boundaries protects one's well-being, even from family. Favoritism breeds resentment and enables poor behavior, leading to inevitable fallout. I no longer carried the weight of their choices. Peace came from that release. Life moved forward, centered on my own terms.